Right, and I just realized that I need to set my window capture over. There we are.
Let's delete these colors real quick from the game because I don't want my friends to see.
All right. Hi, everyone. You should be able to hear me. Okay. And if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Hello, my name is Chris, and I'm just here to learn how to make a fire truck, honestly.
So, Chris asked me in DMs how to go about getting started with beginning fire truck development. And I mean, I have a video series going over this, and I have a playlist of live videos so you can see me build some of these in real time. But I don't really get to talk about or do it often as far as how to go about the process. You can watch me do the process and learn from that, but I think if I sort of explain it along the way, it might make a little bit more sense. So, Chris, where should I start as far as establishing a baseline for what you're looking for? What sort of things do you need help with?
Basically, what I need help with is that, like how to start with the cab, right?
Right.
And, like, I want to know how to build a cab and then do unions and all that because, honestly, I did try to build a Clint 5 from Halifax Regional Fire. It did not go so well. I outlined it, but it didn't look right. And honestly, I don't know how to really do unions.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So
So
yeah,
I think Zoe says, or Toy says that he also wants to ask questions. If Toy has anything specific, just let me know and we'll go about that from there. Okay.
I do have
So
the blueprint if you want it.
I think the most important thing to start with, because I have this already started, this project. I've been working on this on the side, just for fun. Um, so and the concepts are going to be relatively similar. I think the biggest thing to start with is what is a union and how do we go about using it? Just so everybody's on the same page as far as what the capabilities that we are looking for are. All right. So I'm just going to quickly just make some parts here just to show some stuff. Okay. All right. So if I have a cylinder going through this block, let's take a look at what the different properties of unions do. So I'm going to do a couple of different things here because I believe there's 3 different options that we have as far as how the unions are set up. All right. So number 1, we have the just union between 2 parts. If I union these 2 parts together, they now become one mesh in this case. So I can actually go into these 2 parts and see through the whole thing because normally we would see the outer edges of both parts. So now this is 2 parts that are combined into one, and it actually does change the way that this is modeled. So here we have the cylinder through the block, and we can see the triangles by using the wireframe rendering on Studio. And if we union these 2 together, they will actually change the way that the triangles are set up on the block. And this is very important to understand as far as how we keep the, let's say, the triangle count down and how to make the most simple and most, let's say, pretty version of the union that we're trying to build. So notice how this changes between Poke. We cannot see the top of your studio. There is a crop there. Let me undo that. I'm looking for the transform tool.
Not.
Hi, Nico.
Some Nico.
Okay, so top crop. Let me just do one of these. And I think that shows everything, right? Should be able to see the file and all that stuff on the top.
You have it cropped.
Okay. There we go. So now you can see all of the top bar. All right. So this is the union. Okay. So we talked about the just union between two parts. Now, how do we cut out parts from the union? We can select this single cylinder here, and now I'm going to hit the negate button. Okay, so now we see that this part turns a like pinkish red color. And then if we take and select both of these two parts and hit union between them, watch what happens. Instead of combining these two parts like this, we've now cut into the part based on the size and dimensions that the negative part was covering. This is probably the most important feature in all of Roblox unions, especially when it comes to Firetruck building. And there's a lot that you can do with negative parts. We'll talk more about that. Okay, and relatively recently, within the last year, Roblox added this new feature called intersect. So what this does is if I select two parts here and hit intersect, it's going to give me the place only where those two parts intersect. And I've actually found a particular use case for this on the new Firetruck that I've been working on for S1Y. It's not very often that I use this or need to use it, but I have found one use case where this has been very helpful. But it is a feature there that might help you in some cases. So this gets us the intersect or the overlap between the two parts. Notice how we downsized the cylinder that used to stick out of the block, and it's only now the size of the depth of the block that we had. So we went from this to this. So now that we understand the concepts of unions, we have a multitude of ways that we can combine these skills together. Okay. So the most important union operation to start with for a cab is the wedge negation. All right, so what we are referring to in this end is this. How do we cut a part to have a diagonal edge on one of the corners? So I get asked about this a lot as far as how do you align the wedge in a particular way? So let's start from the beginning. So I have my base block, and this would be red. This would be our color of the base color of the fire truck, whatever we want. Okay, so I duplicate this. You should be able to see my operation here, but you cannot see the drop-down menu that I have. So really quickly, let me do something. Because I want to emphasize the importance of this, and I want you to be able to see what it is that I'm doing here. So let me switch to my display here. Okay. And let's fit this to screen. Okay. So now I can take some transform here and start to crop out a little bit of the top bar and the bottom bar. Because right now that's not important for our operation. Okay. Fit to screen again. Okay. All right, so now you should be able to see my whole display, including the drop-down menus. Yes. All right. So I have duplicated this part using Control D. So I have a part inside of a part. Okay. if I want to get a wedge and align it with this part, because remember, it is so important that you do not drag and drop these parts, especially if you look at your movement scale on the top section of the screen and it's something like 0. If your movement scale is messed up, you have a lot of freedom and a lot of play, which does work in some cases. But in this one, if we have a lot of that play, then you're going to run into gaps all throughout your truck, and we don't want that. Question: does this tutorial help make buildings and models? This would help you in general circumstances across the board. These are the fundamentals of modeling in Roblox.
I would say it's helping. Yeah, because you're explaining like how to like union stuff and all that.
Right? So just for refresher, right? We want to make sure that we have a good movement setting. I like 0.05. So if we say 0.05 up here, we have a set movement scale. And always try to use the arrows for the move tool. Like I said, you'd never want to drag and drop, because otherwise, we know now that we're on a particular plane. So we can move on this axis or this axis, and the parts will always align in some way. So if I move this over and like so, there's no gap between these two parts, even when they're spaced like this. So that's important. All right, so I'm going to put that back in the original location. Now, if I go down here, we see this category in the Properties tab. Now, if you lose this, go to View, and you have your Explorer, which is this one here, this tab on the left, and Properties, which is this tab on the right. Explorer is all of the objects in your game. So you have your workspace, which has your models and your parts and everything, and then all of the other services that right now we're not worried about. Okay. So in the Properties tab, this is the properties for the particular block. So most of you would be familiar with the color. We can change the color however we like. Now I'm just going to set this to a random color so we can see the difference of what happens when I do the operation that I'm about to show. Okay. And we do want to make sure that our parts are anchored when we're starting our modeling process. Okay. So we see that there's a red block and a yellow block. The yellow block I'm going to modify, and the red block is going to stay the same. So this is called axis fighting, or just clipping, where you have two parts that are overlapping in the exact same space, and they're fighting over the color. So look out for this when you're doing your modeling, and especially if you have a part that has a different material, this becomes a little bit more clear. So let's say concrete, right? If I start moving the camera around, all right, it's not doing it right now, but we do have clipping. So that is something to look out for. So I have this part that changes colors when I move the camera. So do look out for that, because you don't want parts to be overlapped directly on top of each other like that, because then you're adding to your part count unnecessarily. Okay. With that being said, the operation that I'm going to do is that wedge cutout. So notice how if I went to the property settings, down to the shape property, closer to the bottom. Is my pager going off? Give me 1 second. Reported kitchen fire.
You have to go to it. Oh, dang, you might. Oh, you do. Probably. That sucks.
Fuck. All right. We'll keep an eye on that.
All right, I'm head out. Good night, guys.
All right, take care, Nico.
See you,
man.
Bye, Chris.
See you, bro.
All right, so going back to what we were. So we have this wedge. we have this wedge, right? And I've just moved it over just by one step on this axis that I've already assigned using the modeling tab at the move setting. Okay. So obviously we don't want to cut the block like this. We want to cut out the top section. Okay, so if we have our template here, let's just move this in place. Okay. So this block is aligned with the top section of the door where we have our color scheme. And I want to take this and line it up with the lines on the drawing. So this block is aligned with the top section of the door where we have the color scheme. And I want to take this and line it up with the line on the drawing. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we line up the parts like so. Okay. And here, all I did was just rotate it in a particular way. And that actually worked out. So it's facing the correct direction. Okay. If the block is not facing the correct direction, oftentimes this will happen. Where maybe if I was building the template sideways, okay, maybe if I was on a different axis or a different rotation, and I duplicated this, we have our orange block turned into a wedge. Okay. Now, did they fix it? It's not doing the issue that people normally run into. That's interesting.
6 foot.
Okay, so I guess the axis and rotation is better.
Oh yeah, they did fix that bug.
Because oftentimes what I would have to do is flip 2 of the size coordinates so that the wedge is still on a proper axis.
Yeah.
All right, but I guess we don't have to worry about that. Okay, getting back to it. So if I take this and I negate it, remember our union properties. If I take this, negate it, and union it here, notice how we have this part sticking out. Okay. So that's not good. We don't want that. So what we have to do is we have to double or multiply the scale of this block by a particular common factor. So we're looking for this axis and this axis. We don't really care about this one as long as it's wider than the part that we're cutting out from. Does that make any sense? Any questions here so far?
No, not really. I mean, I'm starting to understand that part. That really confused me. Like, we got to do a wedge and all that kind of confused me.
Okay. So here I have a calculator. And let me just downsize this. Okay. So this measurement here, as I resize the part, look at the number changing on the right side. That's the number that we're targeting. So that 1.8 was the number that was changing, that middle value. So what I'm going to do is take the 1.8, multiply that by 2. Okay, and we have that 3.6. Okay. Now, the other axis is the 0.35 one. 0.35 times 2. Okay, so look at these two numbers, 3.6 and 0.7. So 1.8 doubled is 3.6. Okay, so now we've done that, and then we have the 0.7 here. So now that this block is doubled, watch what happens if I put this back real quick. Okay, do we see this? I have a block that's exactly the same angle for the wedge that we're trying to use to cut out. but it's now wider than the base block, so we don't have to worry about that little sliver of the original block sticking out. But we're still on the same angle that we measured using our template. So if I take this, negate it, and we don't care about this. This is just for demonstration. So if I take this, negate it, and then union these two parts together, now I have the perfect wedge. And if we notice, because the parts were two different colors, we have this. In order to fix this color issue, just hit the use part color property in the properties tab. And now the whole thing is one color. This is the baseline for every single part operation that you're going to do ever. That is the baseline. Okay. So for curved pieces, such as windows, just for demonstration's sake, I will show that. Okay. So this is lined up with the inner dimensions of the window of the template. So right now I'm on the inside of the line. Notice how we have these sharp corners sticking out. Okay, so if I want to fix this, also notice real quick, if you see this L on your selection, if you hit Control L, you can turn that off. The L is for the local axis. So that's just for rotation purposes, and for movement, you'll be able to move on a particular angle. So if I have the part on a 45-degree angle, but I'm on the global axis, I can only move it like this. If I wanted to move it on this angle, Control L, now I can slide it on that 45-degree rotation. So just be careful with that, because that can also lead to your part getting off of the axis that you've chosen to work on. Okay. So here, if I duplicate this, go down to cylinder. Okay, we don't have to make it that wide. We just need it to be wider than the base block. Okay, and then I can line up the angles. Now, in this case, I'm just doing this for demonstration, not doing this for real, but the point is still the same. Okay, so there's two options that you have for doing this process. Number one requires no unions. And it looks like I have a slight offset here. So let me just fix that so that way it lines up at the bottom. Because this was halfway between a 0.5 axis, I set my move setting to half of 0.05 to 0.025 just to move it that little bit to line this up. So you'd have to make the determination of how the scale of the truck needs to be from there. Yeah. You still with me so far? Chris, you still with me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay. So there's two ways to go about doing this. There's the classic way and the better way that I've learned. Okay, so the classic way is just doing this. So I'm going to duplicate this block, downsize it this way, take the original one, downsize it the other way. And just line this up. .025, because I have this little offset here that I want to fix. There it is. Right? Looks like a window. And we can upsize this to make a cutout on another block.
Quick question.
Go with the question.
Do you plan on revamping your FDNY rigs in the future?
already in progress, according to my most recent video.
Oh, sorry, I haven't really watched your videos yet.
So yeah, we can upsize this and then go through the same negation process that we did before. Okay. And what that would look like is something along these lines here. I'm just going to do the top section for demonstration, but if I take these and union them together, remember that we've created a single block. We can look at the wireframe to see that. Okay. But here's what I don't like. If you look at the wireframe, you can still see that the original cylinder is still somewhat there. And I'll touch on how I've gotten around that now. But the point is that I can go here, negate this, and if this is my door block, I can union it to here, and now I have that cutout. So I can do the extra work and detail from there. Okay, now the better way that I've found to go about doing this process is like so. So here, what's my dimension? 0.5, right? All right, so these cylinders are 0.5 by 0.5 in size. So half of 0.5 is 0.25. Okay, so I can duplicate this, Control D. Move it once this way, move it once this way. Downsize just a little bit, like that. And convert this part back into a block using the shape property. Now notice how the sides of this square meet the top of the cylinder this way and the side of the cylinder this way. Remember that cylinders in Roblox aren't truly circular. They're more like just highly polygonal parts. It means it has a lot of sides.
Definitely, I
Because
agree with you.
it's very difficult to actually get a true circle in rendering. Most circles are rendered as multi-sided objects, and the more amount of sides you have, the more complexity, but the more circular of a look you get. Anyway, I can go about doing this process where I line these blocks like so. I'm just going to make this a little wider, and you'll see why.
Are you doing the old-fashioned way, or are you doing the easier way?
This is the better way. Not so much the easier way, but the better way.
Okay. My bad, I was AFK for a second.
And you'll see why here. Okay. So just line these up. So you see that this is still not entirely in place, so I just need to slide these down a little bit. And now we've met that side. Okay. Check your alarm.
Sorry about that. Somebody was pinging me. I'll be right back.
All right. Okay.
Sorry to the people who heard that on stream.
Okay, so notice how I have these negative cylinders here, and the squares are aligned with the one corner, or the 1/4 in this case of the cylinder. So if I take these, union them together individually, now I have this, which looks like a picture frame, like you're about to take a photo or something like a record sign, like one of those live cameras or something like that. Okay, so if I select all of these, negate these now, so union them to this, negate this, and then my base part. Look at that. Now, the reason why this is important is because I want you to see the wireframe for this. Look at how much simpler that is compared to the other one where you could see the full outline of one of the cylinders for no reason. Because we're not using that cylinder in full. We're just using more triangles in that case, which is unnecessary. So if you're really, really concerned with optimization and part count, this is the better way to union your cylinders. You want to cut the cylinders out of a block instead of just unioning cylinders to the block. So if you need a refresher on that, feel free to rewind the stream, and you can actually see the difference between this setup and the basic setup. Okay. So stuff isn't blowing up yet. So the kitchen fire probably wasn't that bad. But I do feel pretty bad for missing it, but I'm also committed to this because I just started. Okay. Because I made a promise. So.
Some dude in the chat said, Mano is my name. What is a Firetruck?
Yes, Mano's being funny.
Oh, Lord.
All right. So once again, that looks like this. Now, look at the triangles in the wireframe for this. About as simple as we can get it, where it still looks detailed with the window cut out. Okay. So if I just bring this out, then we can see that. All right. So that's the gist of how to do the wedge unions and the circular unions. Any other questions? So
understanding. Appreciate it.
all of the build process is based on these two fundamental unions. If you can do that, you can build this entire thing.
Definitely.
And you can see that process happening here. Here we have the wedge union. Okay, and something a little bit more complex where I've actually cut the bottom of the wedge. And you can see that here. So I cut the wedge out of a block and then use the block as the wedge to make the angle with the cut. So, and this is all, as you can see, this is just a regular part. This one has the cylinder for the wheel well cut out of it. So that's set up like so. So it's very, very simplistic. This one has the cylinder cut out as well, and then just another side part cut out for the hinge. This gray part over here will be the hinge. And this is the base size for the window that I was referencing. So you can see that through here, where that's about lined up, or would be. Okay. But this is just going to be that wedge cut out first, then cylinders, those basically these cylinder blocks that I showed here. These would be cut out from that, and then you have your curves. And that's really the gist of the process.
Quick question. So you know how like a blueprint's one-sided, right?
Right.
How would you put it on the other side? That's the one thing that really was bugging me.
Okay.
Like, I couldn't figure that out.
So you can do that in a free program, like a photo editing program like paint.net. And there might be a way to do it just built in with Windows.
I mean, like adding all the parts onto the other side.
Oh, so you're talking about mirroring the parts in the...
So look at your rig, for example. So basically what I mean is that, like, if you go over, back to your rig that you're building,
Mm-hmm.
basically, there's, like, two sides, like, left and right. Like, how would you like how would you build that? Like, you know what I mean?
So the perk with fire trucks in most cases is that they're symmetrical with very few differences. So what you can do is once you build the one side, duplicate the blocks individually and just slide them over to where you need them.
Okay.
And now I have the mirrored side for this. And you can repeat that process throughout. I can just do this and then just line them up wherever those pieces need to go. Right? So there would be the door. Right. So the reason I haven't done that yet is because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done on this side, which is why there hasn't been a lot of work on that. Hi, Doge.
What's up?
What's up, Doge? How are you?
All right. So this is just a simple mock-up design for the back. This is a typical Pierce engine setup. Fun fact, Pierce is pretty good if you're looking for something new. You can go to their website and they have all of their deliveries and you can just get the spec sheet in a PDF format. Converting it to a picture, however you find that is best to do that, is up to you. But you definitely want to try and get as high of quality as possible because keep in mind when you take it into Roblox, we get the blurriness, which can sometimes hurt the build process and make it a little bit more challenging. So it's also helpful to have the picture up as a reference somewhere. Roblox is working on allowing users to upload higher quality images. I just don't know when they're going to get to decals on that end, but we do know that that is in the works.
I have a question too.
All right.
So basically, say a rig like on a back of a rig, right? It has like, how do I explain it? It has like, it's one part in the back where there's cabinets and all that, and you can't add interior to those cabinets without doing a bunch of unioning
Mm-hmm.
and all that. How would I basically get that to work?
So you're talking about how you would do how you would cut away the cabinets from something like this? Because this here is just a block.
I send you a screenshot once.
Okay.
One quick second. There we go. Like, okay, I modify, I virus modify. That's why I'm trying to learn how to make my own. So basically, like this.
Okay. Is that a mesh back or a part back?
It's a union back.
Okay, so part. So what is the question? How do you make an interior to the
Yeah,
compartments?
how do I make a hole in do I separate it and all that or something like that?
Something along those lines. So I have just a standard part here, right? And I have my, let's say, compartment doors in place wherever they need to go. So I can take this, duplicate that, negate. So now I have a negative part like this, which is the size of my compartment, however big that needs to be. Okay, and then I can union it to this part. So now, if I just go back to 0.05 real quick, scale this like so. So now I have a flat part here for my compartment door. This would be the outside of the compartment door. If I move this away now, I have cut out a hole in this space part. And then I can use this as the compartment interior. So if I wanted to do something where maybe I want a gray interior to make it sort of make sense.
Wait a minute. Wait, did you negate it or something like that, or did you union it?
Yes, both actually.
What
So
do you do for
I
union?
have this union here that goes mostly through the block, but not all the way through. I union this, and then I have that. And then I can throw another part like so.
So you take apart and then you put it against and then negate and union it or
Mhm.
something like that?
So it's essentially so notice how this block goes all the way through. So now I'm going to cut a hole all the way through. If I don't want to do that, I can bring this part slightly in from the edge. So right now we're touching the outer wall. If I bring this in a little bit, negate, union to the original block. Now I've cut a hole, but not all the way through. The same logic applies here, where I've now cut into the block, but haven't cut all the way through.
So you put a block, so you put a part against the union,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you union it first, or do you separate it or negate?
Well, here you want to negate this block and then union it to the original. This bigger block here.
So yeah, the bigger block. So you would put it. I already have the putting it against it, right?
All right.
And then would I do the union first or no?
So, do you have a part inside of a part like this?
Yes.
Okay. So negate the small one that you're trying to use to cut.
Okay, negate it. All right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Control and click the base block that you're trying to cut from. So this is the bigger block that I have here.
There we go.
Union together,
Union.
and you have that cut out. And you can do the exact same thing again to make an interior or the walls in a different color.
Hey,
So all this is just a regular part with a smaller negative part cut into it. And I can just union those together, and boom. Now I can take my compartment door and just put that over the top. So now if I do opening compartments, and let's say these open and they move out of the way, however they need to be set up to do that, now I would have the inside of the compartment.
How would you make the compartment a little bit bigger in size?
How would you make the
Compartment, like the interior. Sorry.
how would you make it bigger?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I figured it out.
Yep, you can just make the negative part a little bit bigger.
Oh, I'm
And
learning from you today.
it depends on how much space you have to work with. Here, I'm pretty much maxed out for what I have to work with because I have the inner wall of this block here, and I'm pretty much using all of the space that I can. So it depends on what you have to work with there. That's it.
Appreciate it. This actually has been, you're actually helping me a lot. Appreciate it.
Okay. And actually, for a situation like this, right, where if I negate this together and put it back in place where it needs to go, notice how I have this block here, which is being used for the back. That's going through it. We don't want that. So I have a couple options. I can do this. I can just downsize it because now this isn't going to be visible anyway. Or I can take that negative part, hold on to that for a second, control click both of these parts, union those two together, and then my negative part. Now I don't have to worry about that extra block.
And there we go.
So there's different ways of going about doing that.
I'd also need a opinion on something real quick.
All right.
Alrighty, so here. I'm gonna ask a question. Okay. So for this engine, sending to your DMs, by the way. Does that look like a rescue engine, or does that look like more of a Spartan engine?
Yes.
Which one?
The picture that you sent is a Spartan-made engine, so the cab is Spartan, and the body is also made by Spartan.
Okay, so would it be a engine kind of base, or would it be like a rescue engine?
This is more of a rescue engine style.
Okay, all right.
Because of the way that the ladder rack is set up. So actually, this truck here is more of a rescue engine style. Because
does it have that ladder rack, like
it does.
Oh.
So here they've maximized compartment space, but they've had to sacrifice the positioning of the ladder and some of the other essential equipment. So
for example, like how would I make a ladder rack for that side? It's on the right.
okay, so ladder rack. There's a couple different ways that ladder racks are set up, but essentially the gist of it is, if I take this part here, so this is my,
right side too.
Yeah, this is my wall. So most ladder racks are set up with relatively similar manner. So just for a quick demonstration's sake, I take some, these would be the arms. You can set these up and design these however you see needed. Okay, and then we would have whatever the base is. Okay, and that would go, oh, nope, not down that way, down this way. Okay, and usually they stick off a little bit. And it would look something like this.
So basically from the picture I sent you, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would I modify that?
Okay. So you can do a simplified sort of blockout like I have here. I find that this does help just to get your general idea of scale. For that setup, it's actually very similar to how this is. So if I wanted to start adding a little bit more detail to make it match a little bit. Ah, here we go. So see how I have this, I've changed this part to a cylinder, but it's facing the wrong way. And then if I rotate it, see how it's sticking out like this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at the dimensions of the cylinder here. I have 0.35 on X, 0.35 on Y, and 0.05 on Z. This size here is the 0.05, this dimension. So I want to take this and flip with this scale, which is the X. So the X is currently 0.35. I'm going to set that to 0.05. And the Z is currently 0.05. I'm going to set that to 0.35. So now I've just changed the scale of the cylinder to make it match the axis of this block here. So that way I don't have any gaps in my parts. Okay. And
sorry for interrupting.
You're good.
So for the rig that I have, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to do is like what's it called? I'm trying to like see how I can modify it to where I can actually do that step.
So all you'd be doing is you could pretty much get away with just adding the ladder rack. Just with the way that that's set up. Because you have the coffin compartments on the top there. Um, and that's basically how this is set up. This has the coffin compartments with the ladder rack over the top, being the tallest part of the truck.
Or here, I'll show you what I did. I did this. Will that work, or
Yeah.
the scales? Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Whatever your needs are, you can design it like that.
Sweet.
All right. So if you're not comfortable with doing that rotation and flip method, so here you see you have to flip the dimensions. So if you're not comfortable with that, what you can do is go to a common scale factor, which in this case is going to be 0.05. So now I have a cube size 0.05. I can rotate it to whatever I need. So in this case, I want something like this. Now I'm still on my axis, and I don't have to worry about any gaps.
Wait. So, deck guns, right? On rigs.
Mm-hmm.
How? So, I tried to add a working right onto my ladder system, which is a Gate Studio system.
So you tried to
And
put a deck gun system on their ladder system?
yes,
Okay.
I'm struggling very badly with it too. It doesn't work. It won't activate. It being really stupid.
So that would be part of your script setup,
Okay.
very likely, and how you actually have the modeled, for lack of a better term. So typically, the deck gun would look something like.
Have you ever made Have you ever made one work before
Mm-hmm.
on a ladder truck?
I have made 2 working deck guns so far.
You can put them on fire in ladder trucks.
I haven't seen. So ladder trucks usually don't have a deck gun per se, but a lot of ladder
Not a
trucks
deck
will have
gun,
a
as
ladder
in
pipe with
yeah, that's what I meant.
with a nozzle if it's a quint or a tower ladder. And you would that's just a matter of welding. So you would have to weld it in a particular way that allows it to move while still being attached to the truck, so that way it doesn't fall off.
Okay.
So a deck gun, this is a 1x1 cylinder, and I'm just going to go over this for demonstration. So let me make this 0.5.
So that's one of the rigs I actually have been doing pretty good on. You know the ones on tower trucks on the buckets?
So look, if I make a bollard, like a parking pole, something like that, where I just have a cylinder sitting on, or I have a sphere sitting on top of a cylinder. Okay, now I can rotate this however I want. Then I can go back to a cylinder. So now I have this set up, right? So remember how I was talking about that local axis? Control L. Move this half of the size. So the size right now is 0.5. So my move setting is set to 0.25, which is half of that. Now that's lined up. And I can do something like this. And I'm just going to do a very simple setup here. So we have a ball.
You scripted these before?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever made them work on a ladder truck?
On a ladder truck, no, because I haven't built, at least in New York City, they don't have them pre-attached. with the exception of a tower ladder, and I haven't built a full tower ladder yet. So I'm looking for a cylinder.
If you ever do, please DM me so I can actually try and get the understanding.
And notice how I'm just rotating and moving in particular ways. And just for simplicity,
Because I was actually using one from a truck, but it kept falling apart.
this is just a mock-up, so something like that. And actually,
You know the ones. You
I
know the
feel
ones
like
that are on.
this
You
would
know the ones that
go.
are on like. You know the ones that are on like. What's it called? Tower trucks.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you.
No problem. So you know, like the ones on tower trucks. I'm trying to get one to work, but it's being really weird.
Yeah, those are tricky to set up because there's very specific things that you have to do. And you have to know a little bit about welding, and that's a more advanced topic in the sphere of Roblox in general because it's not always consistent either between
You do welding?
vehicles. I do welding quite a bit in the sphere of Roblox. So something like this would need to be its own thing, right? So on a chassis, if you're familiar, there's a model group called miscellaneous, MISC, which is for putting something on a vehicle that is not welded to it. So something like a deck gun, something that moves, or a ladder, something that moves should be in that category. But you would have to weld the base of it to the vehicle to make sure that it actually stays on the vehicle without just falling off and falling through the map.
Yeah.
And actually, if I group these two and then group everything else, just the gist of how this would function. So if I put these two groups together, now I have one thing. Now this one, let me select the position of the cylinder, set this origin position or world pivot position to that, and set, just for fun, I can do this.
No, you should really sell products. You know, you're pretty good at what you do.
Obviously, this doesn't function in reality. You would have to use motors. But if you set it up in this way, it's very easy to install the motors when you know what you need to be able to rotate. You need to be able to rotate this way and this way. So that would be two different sets of motors on two different axes. So that you have that up and down motion and the side-to-side motion. But yeah, that would be the setup of how you would build that in general.
Okay.
All right. And I think we've covered all of the essentials. There's not really too much as far as building the general fire truck. Now, if you're talking about functionality, that's a whole different story and requires a lot more expertise. But building is very straightforward. You're just repeating that those union operations, such as the cylinder cutout or the wedge cutout that I've showed earlier. And that legitimately builds the entire truck.
Yeah.
So,
And the one thing that, gets me is that one thing that gets me really is that, with like turrets and all that, right?
mhm.
I've always wanted them to work because, like, I'm trying, to make my stuff like, interactive
Mhm.
and I just like want my players to just have like really cool experiences and all that because I promised them like this whole huge big fat update, and I promised that there's gonna be a lot of realism to it, and like it just it just makes me sad that I can't upset it. So let's put it this way: it's upset that I can't even do that.
And actually, just a brief introduction to motors. Okay, so I have two blocks like this that are on top of each other. If I put a motor into the first block, okay, I have these values here called part 0 and part 1. Part 0, I'm going to set to motor, this one block, which is named motor 1. Part 1 is going to be the motor 2 block. Okay, and we'll set our max velocity to some sort of small value. We'll do 0.1 and desired angle 9999999. So when I start running this, let me just make sure collisions are on. Yes, and the parts are not anchored, so we should see some movement of some kind. Oh, nope. This is why we anchor our parts.
You're actually gonna make this work.
That is what a motor can do.
Wait, so you're gonna show us how like get this to work?
Just the fundamentals, not how to actually go about doing it.
Oh.
But this motor is very versatile. You can use it for a lot more applications than you think. Okay, so notice how my axis is spinning like this. So imagine if there was a rod going this way through the blocks. That's kind of what we have here. And depending on which way you rotate the blocks will change how that interaction occurs. So you got to tinker with it. So notice this. We've created something that's now rolling across the ground.
So how would that help with how would that help with a turret?
Because you can control the distance that the motor travels. So instead of desired angle 9999999, let's do what is
It's like a villager trying to walk, to be honest.
we'll do 2. So motors work in radians. What is a radian? It's just a different way of measuring an angle. So there is a way that you can convert degrees. So if you want 90 degrees, you can convert that into radians. But I'm not going to get into the whole mathematics side of it. The gist is that you just have to understand that this uses radians and not degrees. So if you set it to 90 on the desired angle, that's 90 radians, not 90 degrees. So 90 radians is like, I don't know, 45 rotations, full rotations. So obviously that's not what we want. So if I set my desired angle to 2, that's a very specific measurement to achieve here. So notice how when I had 999, it was just continuously rolling and rotating across the ground. If I set it to 2, I have now set this to a very specific angle. And if I set it back to 0 for desired angle, it's going to start working its way back to the neutral position. 2, 0, 3, 0, 0.8, 0. You can use this to control the movement of different objects that are on hinges. Something like a deck gun or a ladder rack. You can use motors to
Motors for what
rotate.
for a ladder rack?
You can use motors to rotate the ladder rack. So if I wanted to turn this block 90 degrees, what is that, 1.5-ish? Yep. So now I've rotated this just about 90 degrees. So this would be my ladder rack. My ladder rack went from a vertical position to a sideways position. If I want to bring it back to a vertical position, I set this desired angle value back to 0, and we've returned back to where we started. This can be used in a lot of different things.
Oh, dude, I actually do need help with something that I've been trying to figure out for a really long time. That's
All
been
right.
on my mind. So, I really can't share my screen, damn it. Okay. Sorry for saying the D word.
Fun fact, door hinges can use this. There's a lot of stuff that can use this.
Okay, so you know how there's like pump handles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know how on some trucks they pull out in one motion, like they just pull out right away. Well, my friend's rigs, like he has them like basically where they pull out in motion. How can you do that?
So you're talking about the handles that you can push them in or pull them out
Yes,
to
yeah.
toggle the gate.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can work with C-frames, or apparently you can also do. Some people call them animated parts when they're actually using C-frames, but apparently there is a way that you can set up animations, and I haven't quite figured out how to go about doing that. But there is a video on YouTube that I have seen where somebody was able to do that with train doors, where they were able to make an animation to open and close the doors on the train car. So there's different ways of going about doing that. The C-frame method is not always reliable. Because if the server's lagging, then the C-frames slow down a lot. And if you rotate the vehicle, your C-frames will no longer work. So if
So
you
wait, so
if
you
you
know how to
have
do this?
if you have a Firestone ladder and you rotate it, you notice that the ladder system doesn't work properly.
Yeah, no, yeah, that, yeah.
It's because it uses C-frames, which go on a particular axis. So you would have to change the axis that the C-frame is working on, which requires you to refactor the script, which is annoying.
You know those also? Do you know those big knobs, like with the handles on the trucks, on trucks in real life?
Big knobs with the handles.
Yeah, they spin around. Like they're like near the pump panel. I'll send you a picture. How about that? And also,
A little
do you
like discharge things. I don't
know?
forget what they're
Yeah,
called.
that.
Um, I see. So if you wanted to make that rotate, do you know what you can do?
What?
Use a motor.
Should you do like a demonstration, probably?
So that would be
I can send you the model. I have a good model.
that would be using the same thing as this. Actually, hang on.
What?
That would be using the motor. So if I wanted to make that rotate a lot, so let's just say desired angle is 8 radians. So that should be like 4 rotations or so. So if I run
how would I make the part rotate itself?
script, you set the desired angle of the motor to however many times you want it to turn. So if I have 8 radians, it will turn like 4 times.
So, and also, the pump through your pull in and out.
Mm-hmm.
How is that motors too, or no?
That, like I said, would be either a C-frame or an animation.
A C-frame.
Mm-hmm.
Can you show me how to do a C-frame?
C-frames I'm not overly good with. There are definitely people who have more experience than I do on that. C-frame. And there's a whole Roblox forum post about that.
Is
So
that scripting?
Yes and no. So there are some built-in C-frames, but most of this is going to be related to scripting. So this would be something like this mathematical stuff would all be done inside of a script. And this is just the general ideas that go into that.
So is that probably what he did for the rig?
Yeah, either a C-frame or an animation. Setting up the animation, setting up
around and around, but I can't share my screen, sadly, to show you.
for the spinning, like I said, that's easy. You can do that with a motor.
Okay, so
but for
let me try that.
for moving into the pump panel and out of the pump panel, that would be, like I said, that would be a C-frame or an animation to do that effect. Like something that slides instead of turns would be a C-frame or an animation. Something that turns would be a motor.
Okay, so basically, I have it, right? I had the model, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So where would I start first? Would I add a script, or would I add motors?
Well, you can test it with just motors. So you can set up something like this. And all you would have to do is weld parts to these rotating pieces in a particular way. So if I had another part, so this we'll say is just a regular part. If I weld this to the motor 2 block, that was the part that spins. So let me see. New weld. There we go. So I welded this part to the spinning part. Watch what happens. So now that spinning part, this other block is attached to it.
Okay.
So essentially, that's how this process works. Like if I have something like this, I have to just weld all of these parts together so that they can rotate in sections. So any of these parts would be welded. And then I would have my motor at the base that allows this to turn. So this deck gun setup would be essentially this block in comparison. So all of these parts would be welded to the spinning part, just like how this is welded to there.
Then it'll be easier for me
What?
if, like, I say the model and then I could see you do it. Because honestly, I'm kind of not. I honestly have trouble comprehending some things.
Yeah,
I know
so
it's not gonna
this
flow.
this
You know.
this is definitely a more advanced topic that it's hard to go into detail about, and right now a lot of my recent work has been related to this. So I do want to sort of maintain that. But the gist
You think you could do a demonstration with the part or no?
would look something like okay.
What's up?
Okay. Like that. So all I've done here is just welded all of these parts together. And all of these parts are welded to the rotating block. So these would be normally hidden. So that way you can do this. And now I can just go into here. And if I want to set this to here, or here, or here, here, and I could just change the desired angle value. And because all of these are welded to this rotating part, then it all moves together.
You know, my question is for you.
What?
Why did you choose New York?
Because in 2018 I had just come back from a trip to the city, which inspired me to make a New York themed game.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So actually, I mentioned that in one of my videos.
Yeah, I really haven't caught up with your videos yet. But yeah, I'm also AFK. I'm also away from my computer. And just I'm talking because I have a wireless headset.
So here I say, reflecting on that first trip that gave the inspiration for it all, and then the ones that follow. So this picture here on the stream is of the Engine 4 Ladder 15 patch, one of the first fire stations in New York City that I ever saw. And that is currently hanging up on my wall above my desk. And there's some additional pictures or videos from one of my more recent trips to the city, where I'm looking at this building, and this building we recreated in the SONY game. So it was really cool to see something that I'm used to from the game in real life.
And you're from New Jersey?
Yes.
Nice. And you're a volunteer?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. How old did you start at?
I started at 16 as a junior firefighter.
And they let you go on calls?
Mm-hmm.
So for 14-year-olds, is that like a different thing or no?
It depends on your department. Some departments have different rules and guidelines that they follow.
Okay.
There are some
Alright.
departments that do not let you join until you're 18, some that do not let you join until you're 16, some that don't let you join until you're 13 or 14. It just depends on your local department. So this is fun to play around with. I can just change the desired angle and it will go to that location. All right, so that's the gist of motors. All I have here is those two rotating parts where one stays in place and then the other one rotates. So I shouldn't say two rotating parts. I just have the parts that perform the operation. So the one rotates and everything is welded to that one that turns. And then I could just change the desired angle value in the motor, and we have a turning deck gun. So that's pretty straightforward. And I think that's pretty much most of what I can explain for the essentials. Any questions or anything further that I should talk about? Poke, how do you make the rotators on the SLR? If only there was a way to rotate parts in a controlled fashion to make them spin like a turning light. Not sure. Not sure at all. Can't put my finger on the method that I would use to do that. It's almost like that there's these really versatile things called motors that can make objects spin. I just have to weld things properly, make them turn. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't tell you. All right, what do you have?
Hey, Poke, I'm back.
All right,
I sent some to your DMs, by the way.
I saw that.
If you could do a demonstration, maybe, with that.
Okay, so you have this, right? So what is this? A cylinder? Yep, this is just a gauge. So let me take this duplicate this, call this motor. Motor 1 and motor 2. I need to take all of these and weld them to this. I have a plugin that lets me weld them easily without having to do each one manually. And so all of those.
Public?
Yes. That is the weld plugin. Very
Is
old.
it free or do you have to pay for it?
I'm pretty sure it's free. It's very old.
It still works?
Yep. Okay, so I have motor 1 here and motor 2 here. So let me group these. Okay. So motor 2, I'm just going to put down a motor 60. Then part 1 will be this, or part 0 will be this. Part 1 will be motor 1. So part 0 I usually put as the parent block, and then part 1 I usually put as the rotating block.
And then how would you get it to work with a click detector?
Scripting. So you'd have to put your click detector on click on or on mouse click function. And then just say, oh, when this is clicked, set the desired angle to however much that it needs to be. So that's more advanced, and that's more scripting based, so I'm not going to get too much into that. All right, so let's see if I set this up correctly. Nothing's happening. This might be anchored. Yes, it is. So this block will be anchored, but the rest of it will not be. All right, so that's rotating the wrong way, right? We definitely don't want that. This looks like a collectible, like a coin or something like that. That's not good. All right, so this was rotating this way. So imagine if I have a spoke. So we would be going up and down. That would be my axis of rotation. Okay, so up and down. I want to take this. And maybe if I do this way? Nope. Let's rotate the motor 1 part. Oh. Did I break all the welds? Is that what happened? It looks like I broke the one between this and motor 1. Let's weld that together. There we go. Try it again. Nope. Still turning the wrong way. So I just fidget with this. And see what I can do. Make it rotate the way that I want. All right, so because I don't see any movement here, this might be the rotation that I'm looking for. So I just need to weld the main weld block to the motor 1, because this block has everything welded to it. So we'll just weld to motor 1 again. Because anytime you rotate something or move it, the welds will break, so you're going to have to do it again. And there it is. And let's say I want to keep the gauge intact here. So let's find the parts. So everything with the exception of the red. That looks fine. So now I've just broken the welds for that and put the part back up. So now let me just weld this back to part 1 again, or motor 1 again. And the gauge should stay facing up. Oh, nope, I should anchor it. Anchor this. Anchor this. What is this? We'll anchor that. Anchor this. I think something's welded that's not supposed to be. So let me get rid of these extra welds, and I'm going to manually select which ones that I want. Okay. I think it's just those two. There it is. So now I can take these parts, turn the transparency on, and I have my rotating gauge. So this would be in the opening stages, let's say. And if I wanted to close it, then I could set my desired angle back to 0. This would go back to the neutral position. And let's say that I'm spinning it a little faster, so I'm going to change my max velocity to a higher value. And this should get us back to 0. So on open, let's get my desired angle to 4. So I'm expecting at least 2 full rotations or so. Oh, nope, never mind. My radians are rusty, but it's just trial and error. You don't have to be a mathematician to do this. Just figure out what works and go with it. So let's set the desired angle to 8. Okay, then back to 0. Nice. So I hope that the point is clear here. We have opening and closing, and that is our introduction to motors. And then this gauge would be welded to the truck because everything is welded off of that. So that is pretty much the essentials. You can do a lot with motors. Light bars, cabinets, deck guns as shown in the back, rotating valves or gates. So quite a bit can be done with that. So how are we? Been at it for about an hour and 40 minutes. Chris, are you still with me?
Yep, give me 1 second.
All right. A 2-hour stream for essentials. Then I can sort of chop this down into segments and mini tutorial videos. So killing many birds with one stone. All right, does anybody in the chat have any questions that I can answer?
Okay. Alright, so quick question.
Go ahead.
Can you use any click detector script?
Pretty much, and then you would just modify it for your needs.
So, show me an example. Like, how would I... How would I, like, make it work?
Okay, so first, let me send this to you. Okay, so click detector in here. Script. Click detector. I think it should be colon. Or is it dot? Dot mouse click. Connect. Function. Open bracket, close bracket. There we go. Script dot parent. Parent
Also,
dot
can I
motor.
just say something real quick?
Ah,
I appreciate you helping me tonight. It's
of course.
appreciated, man. It's just been rough because my friends really don't want to help me. Alright.
All right, check this out. So if I want this to rotate 3 times, right? I'm not going to do the math because I can have the script do it for me. 360 times 3. And then leave it at that. So math.rad is math.radian. So this would be 3 full rotations in degrees translated into radians. So that would be 3 full rotations of the motor. With that being said, if I go here, hit play here, set this motor desired angle to 0, just so it's not moving when I start. Okay, if I click this, now it's going to go to that desired angle and do 3 rotations. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then I can do something like if this motor's current angle, script.parent.parent.motor2, motor6d.current angle equals or is greater than or equal to, because you never know. You never want to trust that it's going to meet a value exactly. It might go slightly over, it might go slightly under. So we can't always trust that. But we can say, here's our measurement. So if it's gone through 3 rotations, then we want to bring this back, the desired angle back down to 0. So we want it to go back to the neutral position. Else, it means that we're starting at 0. So we haven't turned this at all. And the autofill for the script is going to give us exactly what we need. All right, so if we've turned 3 times, go back to 0. If we're at 0, turn 3 times. Does that make any sense?
Basically.
And for people who might not be able to see it, let me zoom in on that. All right, so here, if we have turned 3 times, turn back to 0. If we are sitting at a different value, which would likely be 0, turn 3 times. So now, if I run this, where is? Did I just lose it? Hang on a second. Around there.
You're good.
Okay. So, if this is at 0, turn 3 times when I click it. 1, 2, 3. If it's at 3 times rotation, we want to go back to 0. 1, 2, 3. And that's really it. If you want to mess with the motors, all you have to do is just change this desired angle, and you can check the current angle that it's sitting at to determine where it is. So I will also save
what if I want to?
this.
And also, what if I want to turn it back the other way?
That's already built into this script, as you can see. So this is in the starting position at 0. Turn it on for 3 rotations. Okay. And if I click it again, it will go back the other way.
The mom's sending me this so I could actually, like, get the full
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Appreciate it, bro. I thank you so much.
All right. Matthew Shea is pinging me. What have you got? I'm so close to...
Let me see what you say is pinging me.
Yeah,
Pinging you. Okay.
understandable, Matthew.
Hold on. So when do you really get your free time? Not free time. Free time to work on this, like, community.
At the moment, I've been basically working full time between actual part-time job and an internship, so I haven't had too much time to put into the game. But whatever time I do get is spent, working on stuff like this. That's our fun little gauge. Are you a dev? If I've gotten this far in 7 years now of working on the Roblox platform as a developer, I would hope so. I would hope
That's
I'm
me,
a
by the way.
I would hope I'm a dev.
That's me. Pretty sure Laws is my YouTube. That's my YouTube name, by the way.
Gotcha.
I was talking that second that he pinged me, and I was like, I asked me this server was asking if he was a developer.
That second dev. Oh, talking about the SLRs. I see now.
Oh, now you know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And you must really like your members and all that just to be doing this for us.
So here's something that I've learned that a lot of people on this platform have not. And let me... Okay. Here you
You
go.
actually got it to work.
This is why I do this. Oh, come on. Ads. Okay, so this is why I go and take the time to teach people how to do stuff. You see what's on my screen now, or should I read it? You see what's on my screen now, or should I read it?
Hold on. Sorry. Nice.
Okay. So for context, this gentleman here is Randy Pausch. He was a professor at Carnegie Mellon University for, happens to be, computer science, which is what I'm pursuing my degree in.
Oh, congrats.
So this gentleman received a diagnosis saying that he had a severe stage of cancer and only had a very, very short time to live. And he has a wife and kids. So what he does is he writes a book to give to his children so that way he can give them the parenting lesson that otherwise he would not be able to because he wouldn't be around. And he knew that this was going to be the case. So he wrote the book to give to his kids to teach them life lessons that he wanted them to learn. The book and the substance of it is fantastic because of statements like this. The brick walls are there for a reason. So brick walls referring to any sort of struggles that you have in your life, any sort of challenges that are in front of you. Okay, the brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. So if you want to become a great developer, if you want to be good at a particular sport, and there's challenges that you have to overcome, that's the brick wall. If you really want to become good at a sport, if you really want to become a good developer, you want to climb over that brick wall. Because the brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. So if you're not willing to put in the work, nothing will happen. They're there to stop the other people. Now, one of the other things that he says is that if you get over the brick wall, you are not doing yourself and everybody else a service if you do not help people to also get over the brick wall. Because then the whole community collectively benefits. So if I teach people how to build models and fire trucks on Roblox, that's helping the whole community become better at doing that job. So I really hope that this resonates with people because it sure does with me. And if you're interested, look into Randy Pausch's story. Because there's actually a whole video, so you don't even have to read the book. Just listen to his speech, his presentation, which he calls the last lecture, because he's a college professor. So after he gets this cancer diagnosis, he presents this video. So I try to help the community because if I'm not doing that, then it's doing the community a disservice. So that's why I like to do a stream like this, where people can ask questions and I can try and guide people in the right direction to figure out the solution to different challenges that might come their way.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I'm glad you're doing this.
Because I get really tired, and this has happened to me recently too, where, and I had mentioned this in my last stream from Sunday, where I was talking about decals and like so the mesh cars and the decal method that people use. So people were like, "Oh, you have a problem because you're not using decals. You're using a UV map. UV map is old." But the community is not being helped or is not gaining a service if the people who are saying that are not at the same time teaching people how to do the decal method. So it's important that on top of providing constructive criticism, you also can guide somebody on how they can make those corrections in the constructive criticism. So that's why I do this. That's why I'm happy to be here, and that's why I would like to help the community solve these challenges.
Yeah. This is one question for me though about development. So, levers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you use motors for that?
Mm-hmm. Once
So,
again, a lever is just setting a object to an angle and then setting it to a different angle. You could do that with the desired angle on motors.
do you know those what's it called? You know those levers on the trucks at the bottom? You need the supply line outlet.
Yep, that's
Intake?
for the intake. Typically the 2.5-inch thread.
Yeah, I'm trying to make that work. So here, I can't
That
share my screen.
that would also be a motor.
Okay. So, well, how would I start out? Wait, so hold on. Let me get the plugin first, actually, for welding, if that's what I need. Do I need that or no?
You don't need it per se, but it does make things a lot easier. So I would recommend having it.
Is it weld? Okay, is it just called weld?
Yes.
What is it? What is it? Tool weld plugin?
Maybe
You looking for it?
it's by the user Aussie Pig.
Aussie Pig? Aussie Pig. Aussie. How you spell Aussie?
OZZYPIG.
Weld. Here it is. Got it.
So if I have this desired angle set to a particular value, I can just this would be a lever.
Let me see. Hold on. I'm not looking at your. Thank you. One quick
And I think a better way to show this would be
Dude, you're streaming. You've been streaming for 117 minutes. Holy hell!
yep, almost 2 hours now.
How long do your streams usually go on for?
However, I mean, I've had one that's gone for like 5 hours. That was long. That was
You working
ridiculously
tomorrow?
long. Thankfully I am not, but I do have some pump training to do tomorrow. IRL.
Hmm. Here, I'll show you the model that I really want to make. It's a union, if that will be an issue.
Parent this. Oh, it's already parented to the workspace. So, change the transparency. And ow.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Alright.
All right, so let's anchor this in place.
Send it to your DMs, by the way, for the lever.
Let's see. All right, so the lever would just be the same, pretty much the same motor system that I already sent to you.
Okay.
Right, so I can essentially do this. So let's say I want to turn the lever to the left. Now that's
It's up and
to
down, basically. For me, it's up and down.
Oh, definitely not that.
It's an up and down lever.
Yeah, so all I'm doing here is just using the motor and just moving between a particular set of angles. So in this case, I have
Wait.
-1 and 1, and I can just flip it. And you can tinker
Wait,
with it to make it a little better.
How would I make it go up and down though for the lever?
So where's the center point here? Move this like so. Take this, rotate it. And I'll leave it like that. All right. So this is block, like a light switch. Light switch is basically a lever. Okay, so I
Yeah.
have current angle or desired angle is 1. So if I set this to -1, now I flipped it. So if I go back to 1, I can flip it down. And what I can do is probably just take the center of the rotation, because the lever would be sort of the actual bar that the axle would be sort of hidden.
Mhm.
Okay, so make this a little bit longer. And my lever would look, set desired angle to -1, and there's the lever.
Can you show me like with the model that I have on there?
Okay.
If you want to.
This. All right. So essentially, I can take this mechanic to this position. Oh, let me do it this way. Okay. So this position, like so. This one. So. One of these. I'm just going to scale this. You know what? No. So then I can just swap this out. Motors 60. Do here. Max velocity we'll set to 0.1. What I should do is change this this. Let's see if this works. So right now I'm at 0. If I set desired angle to 1, nothing happened. Is this anchored? That's why. Oh,
It's supposed to be. I don't think it's supposed to be in the middle though. Wait, is it supposed to be in the middle or supposed to go up and down?
for this case, I'm just starting it in the middle because I can have the motor do the work for making it move up and down.
Oh, okay.
So right now my current angle is 0 and my desired angle is also 0. If I set desired angle to 1, now we're in the down position. If I set it to -1, we're in the up position. So, and I can set this before I even start playing the game. I can set the desired angle to -1, so it will start in the down position. Or in this
What's
case,
it
it's
supposed to
actually the
be?
up position.
Wait, up means on and down means off, right?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'll have to double check that. but the gist is still the same. So there's the simple lever.
Is it possible to add a click detector with this?
Yes.
Would it be set up any different?
Nope.
So explain to me like how I would add it onto the one I have currently.
Script.parent.click detector, script.parent. I need a better way to identify the motor. So let me group these together.
Sorry for having you do a lot.
Script.parent.motor1. Motor 6D. And in this case, I just want to go to, we'll just do 1.
Yeah, one because it's up and down, right?
So this is 1 radian, which at least from just the tests that I've been doing works pretty well. So if it is greater than or equal to 1, we want to go to -1. So if it's in, I think positive is the up position. So if it's in one of the positions, we need to switch it to the other. Else, if it is in the negative position, we want to switch it to the positive position. Whatever that translates to, whether it moves up and down. In my case, I don't really care. As long as it just has that motion. So by default, we've set it to go to a particular spot. I can click this and the script breaks. Why does the script break? Because this is set to motor 2, not motor 1. Okay, there it is.
Okay, can I see if it works?
Okay, save to file. Motor lever.
And like all the background parts would be just transparent.
However you have it set up on the truck. As long as like this block here doesn't really mean anything.
So I can delete the big block or no?
Yeah. And I could
Oh,
just
really?
I could just place this lever wherever I want and just rotate it however is I need to set up on the truck.
Dude, definitely, I'm gonna give you credits. This is awesome. You've been a really big help. I appreciate it. And
Oh my god, Respolate, shut the fuck up.
who Respo what?
Yeah.
What is going on in there?
They just ping every and I'd actually not even every so often. They just ping like 3 times, 5 times a day
Wow, that's intense.
for stuff that I really don't care about right now.
Yeah, definitely, because like, here's a new product came out.
Yeah, new product.
I'm
We
like,
just threw lights on a car and called it a day. So I can do that. I can do that and get paid a lot of money for it. At this point, I should.
yeah, you actually should. Wouldn't be such a bad idea.
So, yeah, that's so as I think I've shown so far, motors are very versatile. And you can do a lot with them. So rotating levers, turning gate valves, so rotating gate valves, deck guns, ladder racks. You can do a lot. And it's pretty much all the same script. at least for a click detector based system, which is probably the most common use case, I would say.
There we go. And then test it out.
All right. So that was a full 2-hour live stream session, live question and answer. And I think you got this covered now.
Definitely.
So just a matter of, look back at the beginning part of the stream and remember to do the cylinder welds and or not cylinder welds, but the cylinder unions and the wedge unions. And that's pretty much how most of the Firetruck is built. And then motors give you access to a whole boatload of functionality. And it's just a matter of figuring out how to weld the object to the truck to get it to function while still being attached to the truck. But that changes depending on what chassis you use.
You
So
use A, don't you?
I do use A chassis, and AG follows pretty much the same formula because AG is built off of A. So if you're using the Gate Studios AG chassis, you're basically using a modified or customized version of A chassis. So for A chassis, I can say that motor systems would typically go in the miscellaneous model folder. And you would just have to weld the base part of the motor system to somewhere on the body, whether that be the drive seat, whether it be another
Does it
part.
automatically work if
The motor will work, but the object will fall off the vehicle. Just because you have to weld manually the base part of the motor system to something that is attached to the truck.
So basically, I can't use it until I weld it.
You can, but it won't work. It will fall off. So it will work, but it will fall off of the truck. So make sure to weld the base parts to
So with that plugin,
truck
right?
body. Yes. You can use that plugin.
So would it just automatically do it for me? Or would I have to
The
do it?
the plugin, if you go to the plugins tab and then hit you have to select 2 parts at least that you want to weld together, and then just hit new weld and you're done.
Do I select the motor weld?
So you don't have to select the motor itself.
What about the
You
unions?
are manually welding the unions together.
Okay, so basically go to toolbox, my plugins. Alright, the weld, right? Okay. How do I open this plugin then?
If you go to the manage plugins, you
Oh,
can
the
turn it
plugins
you can turn
tab.
it on
Manage
and it
plugins.
should show up in the top bar.
Oh, it's loading. Where the hell is model scaling? I'm not even seeing it. Add a plugin. Did I not get the plugin yet? Oh, I did. Yeah, I had the plugin. I don't know why it's not working. Do I just refresh or something?
You might need to close your studio and open it again.
Alright, just give me one quick second. Sorry if I'm holding you up.
No, you're good.
Okay. Roblox. to him. I don't know why it's lagging. I'm loading back up my studio. So it won't work unless I weld it.
You have to weld it in a particular way so that way it stays on your truck model.
Okay.
So, for example, if this was my truck model and I did not have this anchored, watch what would happen to the handle. So this outer block here is going to be my truck model. The handle will fall off. So right now this is not anchored. And here's my motor base part. So the transparent block that's actually housing the motor. If I select this and then whatever part that's static, so in this case that Firetruck base block that I had, plugins, new weld, now the motor should stay in place. And it does. So I don't have to worry about that falling off. The same logic applies when you attach it to a vehicle.
It'll be a tab. It'll just be really quick, okay?
Mm-hmm. So to our viewers, how are we faring so far? Is there any concerns that I should also address?
Alright, Poke, I'm back. Okay, let me get in my studio, and then we can get this show on the road with the whole welding. My goodness. But, connection loss when I have no power. When I have power and internet. I don't know why it's being a pain.
Oh, actually, this. Rotate. There we go.
I'm loading in now. That kept saying connection loss, so I said to close my studio. So how can I find the plugin? Because honestly I can't find it. Image.
Plugins, manage plugins, and then make sure that this toggle slider is on.
It's not even in manage plugins.
It's not. So how about adding the plus, hitting the plus button, and then going through the steps there.
Do I just look up weld again?
You might need to.
Okay, there we go. Install. There we go. That was ticking me off. Got it. My fault. Okay, so do I put the levers in this? Or no?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, it's in MISC. And then the unions, alright, I'll go to welding, weld editor, or instant weld.
Um,
Alright,
you could do create plain weld.
let me redo that. You said what?
You can do create plain weld.
Create plain weld. What does that do? Because the part's gone.
Oh, did it move it?
No clue.
Man. I wonder if this is the same plugin or a different plugin.
No, it's by OzzyPig.
Constraint edit. It might be constraint editor by Wonderwolf because if you have this one that says just new weld, it makes sure that the parts don't move.
What is it called?
Constraint editor. Wonderwolf, WUNDER_WULFE.
Um, Alright, there we go. The lever's in place. What's constraint editor?
Yes.
Alright, who is it from?
Wonderwolf.
Wonder
WULFE, not like wolf's typical spelling.
Wonder Wool.
Wolf, WULFE.
Okay, I'm at Wonder now. What do I put as a wolf? Like lowercase?
Maybe I can link it to you. Might be a little easier. Details. This should be a little better.
Alright, thank you. So that's what it is, not welding.
Yeah, try that one. You might
Let
get
me get
better. Might get better results that way.
Okay, and then Same thing with plugins. Alright, there we go. Alright, so I go to tools. Do I do tools?
View. Yeah, it's tools is the label underneath it.
Do I select both unions or no?
Yes, select both of your parts that you want to weld together and then hit new weld.
Alright, there we go. And then test it.
Yep.
And do I have it anchored or no?
I think it should be unanchored
Okay.
for this purpose.
It fell off. It's not there.
There we go.
Do I not weld the motor?
Nothing. So wait, it fell off, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so make sure that the base motor is welded to whatever part of the truck that you want.
So I weld it?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you
So
want
can I
to...
weld it to like the base of the pump?
Let me see something real quick. Yeah, you can weld it to any part that's attached to the truck that you know is not falling off of it.
It's okay, it's not. It's not. The part doesn't fall off, my bad. But let's test it out now. When did it rain? Alright. It's not there. Oh, it's right over here. It's just not. We got an issue. It's not like up and down, it's left to right.
All right, so I just sent you an example that I have set up here.
Okay. But can you help me with my issue?
So take a look at how the example is set up.
Okay.
All right, and you can see this on my stream.
Okay.
Okay, so you should be able to see. Okay, so let's explain what's going on here. So this model, right, is all the rotating parts of this gate. Okay. So I hope I didn't just break it.
I'm just asking if
I did.
motor. I apologize. This is confusing for you.
All right, so my rotating parts are welded to the rotating block of the motor.
Okay.
The static block of the motor is welded to the truck.
So do I just copy everything into the parts?
What do you mean by that?
Because it's working. It's just not up and down. It's not even in the same place I want it.
Okay, so yeah, you could rotate it or move it to wherever you need. So that way it turns on the axis that you're looking for.
Wait, how do I rotate the? So I just rotate the part.
Yep. You can rotate. So if it's so
So I rotate the model.
yeah. So for example, if this is rotating up and down on my stream, and if I wanted to make it go sideways, I could just select these, rotate them 90 degrees, like. Oh, we just broke everything. I could rotate them 90 degrees.
Now it's falling off. What the hell?
Yeah, so if you move or rotate anything, it might break the welds.
Then you told me to rotate it though.
Yes, so you're gonna have to re-weld it. It is very annoying. So it's very, very
So I have to weld
sensitive.
the motor again.
Yeah. If it's falling off, you have to weld
The
the
part and
base
the motor.
base motor to the truck. This is where that welding stuff that I mentioned, this is where it gets tricky.
New weld. Done. Okay, this is being weird. It's not going straight at all.
Are you able to screen share what you're looking at?
No, because I can't screen share.
All right, give me a second. Hmm. Do, 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 do. Ah. Now try.
There we go. Thank you.
All right, so what do you have? Oh, I see. Your axis of rotation is not correct. The axis of rotation needs to be rotated 90 degrees facing from where it is to the back of the truck. So
what I do?
your motor part needs to be rotated.
Which way?
From the center to the back on the green. There you,
This way?
90 degrees so it faces the back.
I did.
Control Z. You did 180 degrees. 90 degrees towards the back, right there. There you go. Try that. No guarantees on this. All right, so that's fallen off because it needs to be welded again.
Okay.
But you see how technical and sensitive this really is?
The motor or the part?
The motor base needs to be welded back to the truck.
Sorry, right here. There we go. One, two, three.
And you sort of have to tinker with it just to rotate the motor parts until it starts turning in the correct direction. Why is it still doing that? Is the motor part directly on top of the handle? No, that's why. Okay. If you can center that with the handle,
Right here.
bring it down so that that white dot is in line with the bar. Better.
Like that.
Yeah. So there's your axis,
I have to weld it again, don't I?
probably. But you should be able to copy the one that I have,
Saw that
which
coming.
is already set up.
Hold on. You weld. What the? Do you know what's going on with this?
Yeah, your motor needs to be rotated 90 degrees to the back. Try the other motor block.
Which one?
I think you should have two, right?
No, I'm one. You sent me one.
Oh, that's right, because the handle's being used as the other. All right. So yeah, rotate it 90 degrees towards the back on the green axis. Right there. Weld it.
Alright.
Okay. Try again.
1, 2, 3. Nope, still doing it.
Hmm. Take the original model from the thing that I sent you, because that should already be pre-configured for that.
This?
Yeah. That up and down motion is already pre-programmed.
So do I just... What do I do?
Just test it. Make sure it's still good. I know you just clicked and dragged, so I wonder if it broke the weld. Oh,
No.
okay. But that has the up and down motion, so you just have to rotate everything in that model for it to stay the same.
So I just put it back into the... So I just take this and put it back in there?
So that section there, that model that you just selected, you can take that whole thing and move it into place on your truck.
I can make the background
You
transparent.
you can actually delete that. Okay, and then just work with the rest. So put the lever where you want.
In the middle.
Okay.
Right.
Now weld that block, that invisible block, to the truck. Okay, and test it.
New weld. There we go.
There it is.
Wait, hold on. Do I move it out a little bit more then?
No, you can actually change, you can just change the angle.
How?
Okay, so go into the, first go into the Motor 6D. Try to set the desired angle to negative 0.8. Okay, test the game. Make sure that that's still within your track. Only poke Firetruck when. I don't know.
You live by yourself?
No.
Oh, you don't? Oh, you like 18?
Can't afford that. Okay, so that 0.8 is perfect.
Yeah, but this.
Yes, that's to be expected because the script is still telling it to go to 1. So exit out now that you know that 0.8 is a good angle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go to the script, and anywhere where you see a positive 1, change that to 0.8. Anywhere where you see a negative 1, change that to negative 0.8. 0.8, yep. Thought I saw a comment for a second. I got really worried. I'm like, oh no, the script's going to break.
No, that's an O.
Okay,
There
now that should work as expected. Troubleshooting at its finest.
we go.
This is why it takes hours and hours and hours to work on one tiny part of a fire truck. Because you spend time doing this. There it is.
Wow.
Oak, you should let me join the stream. I don't know.
Who?
After all the sus things that Matthew was saying yesterday, I don't know if I should let him. So anyway, that is how you set up the motors. So the motors are on the axis that allows the part to rotate up and down the way you want. And that is the gist. Everything else pretty much follows the same patterns.
For this too?
Yep.
So I just put the whole model on here?
Mm-hmm.
It's only on one side, I'm pretty sure, right? I'm a rig.
Very likely. Should be on the driver's side.
Yeah, 'cause that's where the pump. That's where they work the pump. Don't worry about that. God damn it. Where the fuck is my rig? There it is. Okay. Right here would be perfect. And then move it in like that.
Yep, not too far. Right there. Okay. Weld the base motor, which I think is the motor 2 block, to the truck.
This isn't so bad. Try it now.
Yep.
Yeah, it worked automatically.
And if you think it's too slow, you can change the max velocity to a higher value.
Is there a way to make it go smoother, or is it just my studio? It's just studio.
Studio.
Ah, okay.
If
Oh yeah, it's my
there's
opening cabinets.
How is that set up? Is that C-framed or is it a bunch of
Pretty sure.
transparent blocks?
Pretty sure. I can go in the script and see real quick. Hold on. Let's see. Compartment handler. A bunch of stuff.
C-frame.
So basically, probably the. Oh, this is supposed to move up and down, but I don't feel like separating that. So this is supposed to go in and out. So you think it's C-frame?
Yeah, that would be a C-frame, pretty much just like your compartments, except moving on a different axis, of course.
Uh-huh. Are you not to do that?
I'm not overly. I haven't done that myself, to be honest.
You should, because you might need it for the future for your rigs.
At least for New York City, all of them have rotating handles, so that makes my life easier. There's very few ones that are push in or pull out on the handles. Poke my cat, scratch me, and I've been bleeding for the last hour. Well, then stop messing with your cat. That causes them to scratch you. I don't know what to tell you. All right. With that being said, we are coming up on 3 hours of stream. So I think you are all set. I think you've gotten the gist of how to go about setting everything up.
Also, so you know how you can make like stuff like this fold up and all that?
There's definitely ways to do it. I just haven't done it myself.
Maybe you don't know how to do it then. That's fine.
So,
You've helped me a lot today.
happy to.
And we should both do another stream together. Both dabbing in all that.
So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll do more like, I guess, quote unquote, help streams with people just to go
Yeah,
over
definitely.
different topics or things. Because I think sharing that information with the Roblox community would be beneficial for every party involved. All right. With that being said, I'm thinking I'm gonna end the stream here. If anybody has anything that they want me to look into moving forward, let me know, and I will see what we can do to get the resources required to solve whatever problems you might encounter. Chris, it's been a pleasure. Happy to help you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And with
Alright.
that, stream will be coming to a close. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Peace.